Welcome to a demonstration of installing Mainframe Operational Intelligence version 2.1. This version of MOI features installation in a Red Hat Enterprise for Linux environment. The installation has been significantly simplified compared to previous product versions. Before installing MOI 2.1, you'll need to take into account these requirements. As a prerequisite, if it's not already installed, CA Common Services must be installed on your mainframe system. Details on installing CCS are provided in the product documentation. For the system where you are installing MOI, Red Hat Enterprise for Linux version 7.9 is required, with Docker Daemon version 1.13. In terms of hardware, your mainframe configuration should include the following. For Linux on Z, a minimum of one processor, although two are recommended. For x86, 8 processors minimum, though 16 are recommended. The memory requirement is 64 gigabytes of RAM. The requirement for disk space is 250 gigabytes for a proof of concept. Disk requirements vary based on the number of LPARs you're running and your data retention needs. Once prerequisites are in place, the steps for installation are broadly as follows. First, download the MOI 2.1 ISO file from the Broadcom support site. Next, install MOI on your Linux system. Once MOI is installed, optionally you can then configure security and other settings using the appliance controller user interface. These steps can be completed and the installation be up and running in approximately half an hour. Let's watch the steps in a demonstration. First, check your Linux system for compatibility. The cat command yields information about the Red Hat Enterprise for Linux server version and other information. Here, note that Red Hat Enterprise for Linux version 7.9 is installed. Invoking the Docker command with the version option tells which version of Docker is currently installed. The Red Hat and Docker versions here meet the requirements for installation. You can also check for the amount of disk space available to make sure that that requirement is met. Use the df command specifying the -h option. The ISO file, which was already downloaded, has been copied to a directory called MOI_install. Let's change to that directory. Entering the ls command shows that the ISO is the only file in the directory. Next, the ISO needs to be mounted. To do this, create a mount directory, then enter the mount command. Include the exact name of the ISO file. The ISO is mounted. Now change to the mount directory. Listing this directory's contents shows a number of RPM files and a script called MOI. Entering /MOI, we can get information about the MOI script, including the available commands and options. We can use the verify command to verify that the system has what's needed for a successful installation. A message warns that the system has less than the optimal number of processor cores, but the number is enough to meet minimum requirements. Next, enter the MOI install command. Installation begins. As part of installation, a self-signed certificate is generated to secure all communications of MOI. We recommend you configure TLS communication in all your production environments. This helps ensure that only the Broadcom product components you configure can communicate with the Message Service Hub. Installation takes some minutes to complete. Let's fast forward to see what happens when processing finishes. When the installation is complete, a summary displays. Here it shows that the installation took approximately 17 minutes. Another 10 minutes or so is required for MOI to finish starting up and to begin receiving data from the message service. Looking at the installation log, we see a repeat of the installation summary. Had problems occurred, the log would provide us with detailed information. At this point, we can log into the MOI UI or the appliance controller. In the appliance controller, you can set up security using certificates you've stored in Java key stores on USS file systems. Or you can use certificates stored in an external security manager, or ESM. A third option, new to MOI 2.1, is to use your own pre-existing certificates. See the product documentation for details on security setup. For more about Mainframe Operational Intelligence, visit www.broadcom.com and review the product documentation, support, or communities.